Hi, I'm Caroline Cooper. I'm a psychic tarot reader and I'm also a life coach. And today on my channel, I really feel called to talk about phagophobia, what it is and why it's so hard to overcome. So, if you do suffer from phagophobia and you do feel guided to watch this video, then definitely hit that subscribe button below because I'm going to be posting a lot more content which focuses solely on the topic of phagophobia in the next coming days or weeks or months or God knows with me, to be honest, because I'm just a little bit of a chaotic person. But anyway, all that said, let's get started. Let's start talking about phagophobia, which is something that I do feel needs to be talked about more, particularly here on YouTube, and particularly for the newcomers or for the ones who are experiencing phagophobia for the very first time and who are going through those awful symptoms and just really are at their wits' end and are looking for someone who can relate to their illness and vice versa, particularly for those ones. But anyway, that fear, that irrational fear that we feel when we swallow of choking, usually relates to solid food or liquids or both. Although if you are having a really bad cycle of it, if it is really playing up for you, then you might even have difficulty swallowing your own saliva, or what I should say is you might have an irrational fear of swallowing your own saliva. And this has happened to me. Phagophobia is technically a mental illness, meaning that our phobia, our fear, when it does come to swallowing and choking, originates in the mental realm or in the mind as fears and thoughts and beliefs. Although again, as anyone who's ever been through phagophobia will tell you, it certainly doesn't feel like it's all in the mind, like it's in the mental realm. And that's because, unfortunately, for those of us who do suffer from this, we experience psychosomatic symptoms. So those thoughts and fears that we have up here get transmitted from the mental realm down to the physical realm, or from the mind down to the body. So that process of swallowing, which should be an automatic process, gets interrupted by all those danger signals that it's receiving from our brain. As a direct result of this interruption to what should be an automatic process, because swallowing is something we shouldn't have to think about, it should be something we just do. As a direct result of that interruption, we experience physical symptoms when it comes to swallowing. And some of those physical symptoms that we might experience because we have phagophobia actually mirror those with dysphagia. So they actually mirror the symptoms of those with authentic, genuine swallowing problems, due to like a physiological cause, due to something that's going on in the physical. So like those with dysphagia, we might experience choking episodes, a feeling like food isn't going down properly or that it's getting stuck in the throat. We might experience coughing episodes, and this can have the same effect on those of us with pseudo or false dysphagia as it does on those experiencing the real thing, dysphagia. So as a result, like them, we might lose weight, avoid food, become physically weak, hospitalized, that sort of thing. So it is quite serious. And for me, that's the number one reason why phagophobia is so hard to overcome. It's hard to accept a diagnosis of phagophobia. It's hard to accept that everything we're experiencing, all these very real, physical, frightening symptoms, really do stem from something in the mind. Especially in the beginning, especially when we really do have no idea what the hell is going on with us and no understanding of phagophobia. And especially because, for me anyway, the doctors I see and the anxiety specialists, the people who took me through CBT, family, friends, no one had any idea what the hell was going on with me either, other than anxiety or extreme anxiety or what have you. And that actually leads me on to my second reason why it's so hard to overcome phagophobia, which is that there's such a lack of awareness around phagophobia or pseudodysphagia. And I'm not saying that lack of awareness is anyone's fault, it just really is such a rare thing to have happen to you. When you go to the doctors, for instance, if you're seeing a standard GP and not a specialist, you're probably going to be the first case of phagophobia that he's ever come across, because it's such a rare thing, right? And even when you get referred to this anxiety specialist or for CBT or what have you, you're probably going to be the first person there that they've came across with this too. So what you'll find is that they'll be really good when it comes to helping you with your anxiety, but they'll tend to shy away from anything really that's swallowing related. So they'll tend to shy away from phagophobia itself, which really is the opposite of what we need to be doing if we want to make a recovery from phagophobia, in my opinion. It's like expecting to treat someone who has a phobia of snakes for general anxiety, but completely leaving out the snake aspect of it. Yeah, they might recover, as in they might feel calmer and more relaxed in general, but the second they go into a room full of snakes, all their symptoms are going to come back and they're going to be frightened. And it's the same with us when we swallow. If we treat the anxiety but not the swallowing aspect of things, then yeah, we might feel more calmer and more relaxed, but the second we go to swallow, because we've shied away from treating that, we're going to experience the same sort of symptoms. What I'm saying is this: if we want to recover from phagophobia, then we have to work on overcoming phagophobia itself, first and foremostly. The longer we leave it, the harder it is to overcome. And the reason for this is because when we develop a fear of swallowing, we also start to develop new coping mechanisms or new ways of swallowing. We might start to swallow in a manual way. We might start to only eat safe foods that are impossible to choke on, or soft foods that go down much easier, such as pasta or Weetabix. Sadly, we might start to avoid solid food altogether and come to rely upon thickened liquids as a source for getting our calories and our nutrients and things like that. Or we might only be able to eat when someone's with us or when we're only alone. We might pace around the room while we're swallowing or before swallowing. The list goes on, but what you'll find is that these new coping mechanisms quickly start to replace the old automatic way of swallowing. And the reason for this is that the brain starts to recognise these new ways of swallowing as something that's safe, and it starts to recognise or perceive the old automatic way of swallowing where we never used to have to think about it. It starts to recognise that as something that is dangerous or potentially harmful to us. And so the new way of swallowing becomes the automatic way, if that makes sense. And that's really, really hard to reverse. That's why those of us who do suffer from this tend to suffer from it for a very long time. We have to literally rewire our brain, and it is possible. Today, for instance, I've had 2 slices of Marmite on toast. I've had a bowl of yogurt and granola and a few grapes. Oh my God, grapes. But I had a few grapes, and I didn't even have a glass of water beside me for safety measure. And this is coming from someone who used to struggle to eat a bowl of pasta in a day, or it's coming from someone who used to struggle to swallow a mouthful of water, honestly. So that's a miracle. And I'm not saying this to show off. I'm saying this to show you that recovery from this is possible. And I'm not going to lie, very occasionally this does come back to me from time to time, but it's never been as bad as it was back then, and I think that will always be the case. So if you are suffering from phagophobia, then just take it easy, be gentle with yourself and have hope, because as someone who's recovered from this awful, debilitating illness, I really do have hope that you can recover from this as well. And so if you've made it this far in the video, then thanks so much for watching, and I really do hope you've been able to identify with me and it's been of benefit to you in some way. So yeah, see you next time.